Tish Dile, this is Sakina Bhatt and welcome to Tibet This Week, a weekly news on Tibet, His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Central Tibetan Administration. Let's look at the headlines. China's President Xi Jinping makes unannounced visit to Tibetan capital Lhasa. His Holiness the Dalai Lama expresses concern over flooding in Europe. MPs in UK call for diplomatic boycott of Beijing 2022 Winter Olympic. Several arrested in Tibet for celebrating His Holiness the Dalai Lama's birthday. Sikyong holds virtual meeting with representatives of Office of Tibet. Office of Tibet in Moscow introduces social, emotional and ethical learning program in Republic of Kalmykia. Sikyong felicitates Tibetan volunteer nurses from US and India. Chinese President Xi Jinping, for the first time after becoming the president of China in 2013, made an unannounced visit to Tibet's capital Lhasa on Thursday this week. He had previously visited Tibet in 2011 when he was a vice president of China. Tenzing Lekshie, the spokesperson of Central Tibetan Administration, said that the Chinese President Xi Jinping should understand the real aspirations of the Tibetan people in Tibet and consider Tibet issue as long-pending issue.
The Chinese President Xi Jinping visited Lhasa and Ningdi and with Pompeius, even though it's a very secretive visit. So therefore, we believe that this is his first visit since he became president of China. So we believe that when he visits Tibet, he should understand the real aspirations of the Tibetan people over there and consider that Tibet issue is a long-pending issue which is still not being solved. So therefore, over the last 6 decades, there is a Sino-Tibetan conflict, and with him as the president, with his visit to Tibet this time, he should initiate in resuming the dialogue between His Holiness the representative and the Chinese government.
On Saturday last week, Tibetan spiritual leader His Holiness the Dalai Lama expressed concern over flooding in Europe. In his letter to Angela Merkel, the German Chancellor, and Alexander De Croo, the Belgian Prime Minister, His Holiness wrote that his thoughts are with everyone affected by the calamity. I am saddened to see reports of the unprecedented flooding that has wreaked havoc across Western Europe, particularly affecting Belgium and Germany. The loss of life, damage to property, and hardship that thousands of people are facing is most upsetting, His Holiness said. Members of Parliament in the House of Commons approved a parliamentary motion calling for a diplomatic boycott of the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics in China on Thursday last week. The motion was passed after almost 2 hours of debate on Beijing Olympics and Chinese government sanctions. This motion was proposed by Honourable Tim Lofton, MP for Eastworthing and Shoreham and Chair of All-Party Parliamentary Group for Tibet.
This House believes that the 2022 Winter Olympic Games should not be hosted in a country whose government is credibly accused of mass atrocity crimes, and calls on the UK government to decline invitations for its representatives to attend the 2022 Beijing Olympic Games unless the government of the People's Republic of China ends the atrocities taking place in the Xinjiang region and lifts the sanctions imposed on UK parliamentarians, citizens and entities. I think I must first declare an interest, Madam Deputy Speaker, as one of the sanctioned, and I wear my badge of honour today, although any financial interest I would have had to declare would no doubt have been frozen by the Chinese government.
Supporting Tim Lofton's motion, MP Tim Tugendant, MP Ware Hobhouse and MP Sir Ian Duncan Smith also spoke about the human rights violations inflicted on the Tibetans and Uyghurs. Several Tibetans from Karzai in the traditional Kham province of Tibet were arrested by the Chinese authorities for celebrating the 86th birthday of His Holiness the Dalai Lama in Tibet earlier this month. According to Golok Jigme, a former Tibetan political prisoner, a man named Kunchok Tashi and a woman named Zabo, both in their 40s, were taken into custody in Karzai, Tibetan Autonomous Prefecture's Kyalung town. The pair were arrested for being a member of a social media group that shared pictures, videos and encouraged others to recite prayers on His Holiness the Dalai Lama's birthday. The source also said 20 or 30 more Tibetans were suspected to have been arrested sometime around the birthday of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. In his first formal meeting with the representatives of Office of Tibet since taking charge as the Sikyong of Central Tibetan Administration, Sikyong Pempetsering spoke about his cabinet's upcoming projects and the need to consolidate the efforts of the Tibetan people to resolve the Tibet issue through dialogue with the Chinese government. The meeting, which was held virtually on Tuesday this week, saw various representatives explain their main responsibilities and activities to the Sikyong.
Besides the representatives, we had all the staff members of the offices, respective offices, also taking part in the meeting. So basically, the Sikyong explained on his position on various matters, political and both administrative, and in particular, he spoke on the roles and responsibilities of the Office of Tibet and of the representatives. And then he discussed also on the International Conference of Tibet Support Groups, and also on the World Parliamentarians Convention on Tibet. And he also spoke to them or discussed with them on the Tibet Advocacy Group. And this is a kind of a new kind of a activity that the Department of Information and International Relations is going to undertake in collaboration with the Officers of Tibet and the Tibetan diaspora across the world. And then one particular thing he discussed and stressed its importance is on the survey, the population survey, which he is going to undertake very soon. And he discussed in length on the purpose and the need of this population survey that is going to be taken with the representatives and the staffs of the Offices of Tibet.
Office of Tibet Moscow introduced Social, Emotional and Ethical Learning Program in Republic of Kalmykia on Saturday last week. Honorary Representative Telo Tulku Rinpoche introduced Social, Emotional and Ethical Learning to the Minister of Education of the Republic of Kalmykia, Russian Federation, Mr. Erdney Barinov, who accepted the program to be implemented in schools and will hold various meetings with specialists, pedologists and teachers' unions to decide a suitable time and plans on how to start implementing into schools across Kalmykia. The Social, Emotional and Ethical Learning curriculum has been adopted by many schools across the world and has been translated into many languages. Also on Monday this week, the Honorary Representative of Office of Tibet, Moscow, Telo Tulku Rinpoche, took part in a webinar on India-Russia exchanges on Buddhism organized by the Indian Embassy in Moscow in collaboration with the Russian Academy of Science and the Vivekananda International Foundation.
The Buddhist community in Republic of Kalmykia in terms of reviving, redeveloping, reintroducing this rich Indian heritage that has been part of Russia's civilization for over 400 years. As Professor Tatiana Shulman has mentioned, that Buddhism is part of Russia's traditional religions. So I think the relationship between Russia and India is not only in the economic and political sphere, but also in terms of spirituality, which I think kind of outreaches much more longer period than our political and economic relationships.
The webinar that seeks collaboration of Buddhist heritage between India and Russia saw participation of scholars, thinkers and influential policy makers from the two countries to discuss future projects. On Thursday last week, Sikyong Pempetsering felicitated a group of Tibetan nurses from the US and India who have offered their voluntary service to the Tibetan community during the second wave of COVID-19. Expressing his gratitude to the nurses during a modest ceremony organized by the Central Tibetan Administration's Department of Health, Sikyong noted that they have been immensely helpful to the community during these challenging times. The nurses were deployed to various Tibetan schools and settlements scattered across India to provide essential health care and help the health workers in the area. The mission is funded by the Tibetan Nurses Association, Tibetan Association of Northern California, Tibet Fund and Arizona Friends of Tibet. So much for this week. See you next time and have a good weekend.